Hello and welcome everybody, I am Brandon, and we got a buttload of From Software news to talk about today. Basically over on Reset Era, the user Red Licorice posted a bunch of new information about this consumer survey that he took for a new Armored Core game. We got a lot of new information to go through about that new Armored Core game, so we're going to go through all that and more on another episode of Game Corner. Really quick, if you guys like what I do, please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see more, and I'll stop wasting your time. Alright, so like I said earlier, over on the Reset Era forum, there was this guy named Red Licorice who posted about just having taken a consumer survey, supposedly for a new Armored Core game. From the sounds of it, From Software put together this little consumer survey to kind of get an idea of where everyone's head is at when it comes to wanting a new Armored Core game. Definitely since Dark Souls has become one of the most popular games out there, I definitely think there's a lot more interest in a game like this nowadays. I'm actually not super affluent on the whole Armored Core series, but I know that Hidetaka Miyazaki worked on those games back in the day, and I imagine they want him to come back and work on a new one. So moving forward, the survey had quite a bit of information in there. It had a little breakdown of the story, some screenshots, a couple 30-minute gameplay clips apparently. We're just gonna go through bit by bit and kind of cover all the little points that they make in that description. First up is the description for the story. It sounds very Miyazaki, very dense and supernatural almost. So unfortunately all those videos and screenshots were watermarked, so he was only able to take screen grabs of the actual descriptions for the game, but the description sounds pretty lengthy and impressive, I gotta say. Melange, an unknown substance that could dramatically advance human society. In the past, this substance caused a cosmic catastrophe on planet Bashtar that engulfed the surrounding star system, and eventually its very existence was lost. Decades later, the melange reaction was confirmed again on planet Bashtar. In search of the unknown substance that should have been lost, various speculations began to swirl. Various parties are getting involved: the government, corporations, cultists, and unknown mercenaries. The protagonist is one of them. So yeah, very Hidetaka Miyazaki kind of sounding to me. It sounds like you're the chosen one and you have to go take on this overwhelming force of some sort. Definitely really cool sounding. I'm clearly getting a lot of Gundam vibes here. Maybe even a little Evangelion going on with those cultists. Like I said, I don't have a lot of experience with the Armored Core series. I've actually only ever played it a little bit with my buddy back in the day. I know we used to do the multiplayer quite a bit, but I never really got into the story, and I remember it not really clicking with me at the time when I was younger. Since then, I've grown pretty fond of the Souls series and Bloodborne and Sekiro, so I definitely could see something like a mecha version of that being really fucking awesome. I'm a gigantic mecha fan, if that wasn't clear enough from my background. And definitely recently we haven't really had any like good mech games. I know there's been a couple here and there, but not like a good epic role-playing mech game, you know? Something where you get to actually pilot the mech and customize all the bits and parts and you know, maybe even get out of it and do cool Gundam pilot stuff. And from the further descriptions, that's exactly what this sounds like. They go on to talk about gameplay, pretty much saying that it's your classic third-person action game where you play as a mech. Seems like they'd be taking it kind of in that same direction that Elden Ring is going, with an overwhelmingly scaled map. And of course, dynamic mech action. And it sounds like as far as weapons go, you're going to be using long and range guns, as well as blades and even shields, which could be cool. Like I said, getting a lot of Gundam vibes from this, for sure. And of course, if you have Hidetaka Miyazaki working on your game, you gotta pump up that story, and they do so right here. The sci-fi world created by Hidetaka Miyazaki. From Software's unique and deep sci-fi worldview and multi-layered story, set on the planet Bashtar, a sci-fi world devastated by a planet-wide disaster, with an overwhelmingly sense of scale that only mecha can provide. So, I mean, it sounds like they're really hitting the nail on the head here. Giant scale, obviously you're in big robots, so everything else has to feel very big and gigantic, and hoping a lot of verticality in the level design. They talk a little bit more about the map design, saying, "A vast field that represents a multi-layered world. In a massive and three-dimensional map, you can feel the scale of the mecha universe. A wide variety of maps offer an array of challenging enemies and carefully crafted situations that are worth taking on again and again." So yeah, this kind of makes me think it's not like a giant open world, but maybe like more contained sections in like these open environments, almost like a Nier Automata or like a Yakuza sort of vibe. Sounds like they might even have like missions that you kind of do over and over again with your friends. Maybe there's going to be some sort of online component. I know they've done that in the past, so I wouldn't be surprised if they did sort of like a Monster Hunter type thing, you know, get together with your gang of mechs or whatever and then go off and, I don't know, fight baddies. Feel the tension in long and short-range battles. This game offers not only long-range combat with guns, but also short-range combat elements such as blade and shield that add a sense of urgency to gameplay. Decide between offensive and defensive tactics during tense and challenging battles against powerful enemies. So yeah, it sounds like you're going to have a wide array of weapons to choose from. I know that other Armored Core series have really allowed you to just customize your robot out the wazoo, so I imagine everything from any gun you could want to attach to that to even like tracks or legs you could probably put on there. You're imagining you're going to be able to customize that mech to do just about anything in any circumstance. Pretty much as long as they allow me to have a laser sword and a shield, like, we're game, dude. This sounds so badass. One of the last things they mention is three-dimensional combat, which I would say alludes to some sort of space combat. One of the last things they mention is three-dimensional combat, which sort of makes me think that you're going to be fighting in space at some point. Especially with the description of the story, it definitely sounds like maybe it's going to be taking partway on space, partway on a planet. That would be very Gundam of them. Obviously, you have your Zion versus the Federation, and I feel like they're kind of trying to riff on that, so I could definitely see that being a thing. Also, I mean, you can't have a mech game if you're not also fighting in space, right? And last but not least, they just covered the customizability, which has always been a core part of Armored Core. High degree of freedom and customization. Reconfigure form a build that focuses on close-range combat and mobility, with a high level of customization. Fire build a mech wipe out swarms of enemies at once. So yeah, like I said, sounds like there's going to be a lot of customization going on here. I imagine anything from being like a long-range sniper with tracks on your thing so you can get a steady shot, or like, you know, boosters and a really light mech with, you know, double blades or something like that. I think could be really cool. Also, if it's anything like Dark Souls, I could totally see kind of how Dark Souls works translating right over into a mech game, honestly. You already sort of like move sluggishly, and there's some really dense physical combat there, so adding guns on top of that, I can't imagine it would be too much difficulty. And obviously this high degree of customizability, Jesus. The high level of customizability is going to really allow you to interact with the world outside in a number of different ways. So they're probably going to have some really neat things where you can like ambush a base any way you want, and especially if you're doing it with your friends, you can get your friends involved and do like a mech heist or some shit like that. I don't know, this sounds absolutely awesome to me. Like I said, huge mecha fan. I've never really gotten in the Armored Core series, but I'm gonna have to go back and give these a shot. I didn't realize that they were more like high fantasy anime sorts of mech games. I thought they were a little more grounded, like a mech warrior, so it always kind of turned me off. After reading this though, I gotta admit, I was really missing out on this, man. So if you guys have any recommendations below for like any Armored Core games that you'd recommend, definitely throw those in the comments down below. And of course, what do you guys feel about this? Are you excited for a new Armored Core game? Have you even played these before? Anyway, I'm Brandon. This was the Game Corner episode on the Armored Core consumer survey that may or may not have just revealed a new game. Unfortunately, that's about all I got to share with you guys today. Thanks for joining me, and have a kick-ass week.